Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rich Medley. My name is Coco. Today I am doing something that I rarely ever do, which is comment on pop culture. I'm just gonna go ahead and shoot something that I never talk about today, and it is to do with celebrity worship that I see happening a lot as a social media native. I decided to do this because yesterday I was watching something that's actually trending on YouTube right now. If you go on trending and you see the videos that are trending, probably in your country, you will see a J. Cole. Sirens outside. You will see a J. Cole interview with Angie Martinez trending on your YouTube channel, possibly. It may not be happening in your country, but it's a very interesting interview because I found him to be very profound in the things that he was sharing. And I rarely care for rappers. I don't even know one J. Cole song, you guys, but after watching this particular interview, respect to this man. Huge respect goes out from me to this guy, because he literally took the words out of my mouth. I could not add to what he said, I could not take away from what he said. So I'm listening because it's in the background, it's playing as I'm doing my own thing. And then at the 43rd minute, he begins to talk about none other than Mr. Kanye West and his most recent rant that he's been doing via Twitter that had ended up on CNN, on I think BBC, all over the social media network, and it really brought some things to the forefront. He talks about celebrity worship, and it's something that is a big deal. You know, we've come to a point where some people can do no wrong. You know, we worship celebrities, we spend our time, you know, buying their product, anything that they say is good flies off the shelves. If Kim releases some sort of fragrance, you know, it flies off the shelves. If she's selling makeup, it flies off the shelves. Forget the fact that this person is selling these things, you know, nude, or you know, sexual connotations that, you know, the young girls are saying. Forget all that. You know, because we worship the ground they walk on, we just tend to give them our money. They can do no wrong. You know, they're not held accountable to the things that they say or put out there or that they do. So basically hold them in high regard as gods. Now, how this connects to the J. Cole interview is he says the exact same thing. He says when it came to Kanye West, he realized that, you know, we are starting to worship people. He even puts his hands up and says, we literally, you know, bow down to them. We literally think these people are deities of a sort. And he recognizes that. And he connects it to the fact that the reason that we do that is because in us, we're broken. There's a part of us that's broken. Now, the way he shares this is so interesting, because he says that the reason that we worship celebrities is because that there is a brokenness inside us. There's something that's missing. There's a hole. He actually calls it a hole that needs to be plugged. So how do we plug this hole? We plug this hole with celebrity worship. You guys, I literally could have hugged that man through my phone screen, and that is so true. I'm currently doing a series on self-image, and with my research I've come to find that that's true. Human beings were made for worship. They were made for fellowship with a higher being, the higher being being God. And so when that relationship was broken, we failed. That hole that he talks about was created in our hearts, in our self-image, in our mindsets. So we are looking for things to worship, and when we see people who are talented or who, you know, are excellent in their work and in their execution, we tend to start to worship. And it does take on many forms. So he says that that's the reason why he thinks we worship. I think that's very true. What I appreciated about his interview, he said he didn't want to be a part of that, and for a celebrity to come out and say, you guys, I am not a deity, do not worship me, I think that's huge. He said he did not want to be a part of that culture. He said it makes him sad that he essentially also feeds into that sometimes, or feeds it, but doesn't want to be a part of that. And the fact that he could be lying, he actually said that, he says, you know, for all he cares, he could be lying in his rhymes, he could be lying in the things he puts out, but people will take these things as fact. People will take these things as, you know, J. Cole has spoken, and therefore, you know, this is the truth, this is the word, this is the, you know, it resonates, so, you know, this is a worship moment and all that. And he says, don't do that. He says he does not want that kind of responsibility, and I think that is a very big thing. And some people say, you know, celebrities don't ask for worship, but they don't do anything to stop the acts of worship. I'm going to give you an example. Sometime back, Beyonce released this album called Lemonade, and in this album, she insinuated that her husband of what was it by then, 9 years, had cheated on her with a woman who she nicknamed Becky with the good hair. So what did the Beehive do? The Beehive went in search for this Becky with the good hair. And then they pounced onto this woman called Rachel Roy. For some reason, I think she had put a post up that kind of insinuated that she was Becky with the good hair. She happened to have really good hair. So what did the Beehive? The Beehive clobbered this woman and her child. It got to the point where this woman said she had to get her child out of school for a few days. Was she the good-haired Becky? We don't know. Did her child have anything to do with her actions? I highly doubt that. The fact is, she was attacked by people trolling. She was attacked by the Beehive. What was interesting is whether she was or she wasn't, the person who put the album out did not come out to say, "Dear fans, please leave this woman alone." She allowed her fans to attack the woman. She allowed her fans to go off on this possibly innocent woman. She may be, she may not be, we don't know. But the fact that you don't stop your minions from attacking people who could potentially be innocent, I think is a very, very big problem. And that just goes to show how celebrities allow worship to happen. I'm going to take us back to the Bible because I am a Christian. The disciples were one time spreading the gospel. I think it was in a Greek town. I will find the verse and put it up in the description box. And they were doing miracles. They were doing healings. They were doing things where the blind were seeing. People were being healed from, leprous conditions and all this kind of thing. And then people in that town saw the miracles that were happening. They saw these fantastic things that these guys were doing. And then they began to worship these two apostles. I think it was Paul and Silas. Was it Paul and Silas? Was it Peter and Silas? I'll find the exact verse and link it here. The people in that town saw this excellence. They saw this display of power, which actually came from God, not from them, and they began to worship them as gods, literally bowing down. And I think it was a case of physical laying at their feet and that kind of thing. At that point, what did the apostles do? The apostles actually tore their clothes and said, "Do not worship us." What you see here is just an extension of what God is doing. We are basically vessels for what God wants to do for you. We are basically channels. So don't worship us, worship God. And that was a snippet of what J. Cole was doing in his interview. He was saying, "Do not worship me." He was literally separating himself from these things that people do when they put people on pedestals. I think that's what celebrities need to do. If you put up an album and you insinuate, you've been cheated on and and the people who worship you begin attacking people or worshiping you in a way that's a bit unhealthy, you should stand up and say, "Do not worship me. I'm not looking for worship. I'm not looking for you to bow down. I'm looking for you to appreciate the music, the excellence, the creativity, but worship is not what I'm looking for." And they just don't do that. They let their hives and their navies and their, what is Lady Gaga's fan club called? They let their fans and their hives go at each other on social media in a very inconstructive and an abusive way. And to me, that is a very, 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 very big problem that I see happening. And another thing with celebrity worship is we don't hold them accountable. When Kanye West came up and teamed himself up. Now, I do not do any commentary on American politics. I am not American. I am an immigrant in another country, so I can't relate with what's going on in America. But the fact that he was doing these things and people were shocked, his culture and his following was shocked that, oh, he's a genius. I think that's what T.I. was saying. T.I. and Charlamagne were saying, "Oh, but he's a genius. How can he say this? Da, 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 da." Why are genius people exempt from making mistakes? It's because you worship them. It's because you think because you're way up there in your producing and in your music catalog, so we don't expect you to make mistakes. But if you realize these people are human and you realize that these people are actually human natured and prone to mistakes and different influences, you'd realize that this is actually a man just trying to make his way through life. He's a man just trying to find his way through life just as everyone else in this entire world is. So I didn't understand the argument that people were saying, for a genius, for someone who's, it was almost like saying, "God, you're disappointing me," and that should never be the case. Or we think that they're never going to do any wrong or that they're not allowed to step out of a box. We can't create our own gods, essentially. We can't mistake creativity and genius. We shouldn't be mistaking creativity and excellence for being a god. And I see a lot of people often on social media saying things like, oh, Beyonce is my mother, she gave birth to me, she took us to church. So all these things that are just word worship. By the way, worship in so many ways. We worship in so many ways, and that, I'll have you know, when you use your words and your energy to put these kind of things out there, is a form of worship. So if we understood that these people aren't really gods, these people are men and women just like us, we would have a better solution for Mr. West. But the fact that you think that he's a god, that makes him almost exempt. Does that make sense? For example, I don't know how to explain this, but if you saw something for what it really was, if you realized someone was on drugs, you would know that the solution for this person on drugs is rehab or an intervention. But because we don't understand that Kanye West is a human being, despite the fact he's a great producer, we've put him on God status. The normal solutions don't apply. We sort of we're sort of saying that normal solutions that apply to other people don't apply to him because he's Kanye West is a genius. And that's not the case. He's a man like everybody else. He's a man that is accountable for his words and actions just like every other human being on this planet. So the thing about celebrity worship is it is very detrimental to society, detrimental to our self-image. In fact, it is a result of poor self-image. But I am doing a series on self-image on my blog. I'll put the link in the description box, and it's going to be a series of various posts. Please do stop by and read it. With the interview with J. Cole, I found that it's just echoing what the Bible is saying about self-image and celebrity worship. The reason why we worship people is because something in us is disconnected from worship. We were made to worship a higher being, so we mistake these celebrities and their talents and their, you know, geniusnesses for higher powers, and we begin to worship, and that should never be the case because they are just talented people. They're just vessels. And the moral of the story is, don't worship celebrities. They're just like me and you. They're just people who are displaying their talent. Appreciate them, you know, appreciate them, appreciate their excellence, but do not reach the point where, you know, you're just blindly following. For example, Kim K is another. We know that if we break down her demographic of following, I'm pretty sure a big number of those followers will be in their, you know, 13 to 20-year-olds, you know. And she released as an app, and the app had things like, you know, send nudes. There was like a naked butt, literally, like I think it was on a pole or something, but or twerking or something like that. If she wasn't a god to some of us out there, we would hold her accountable. We would apply the normal, you know, accountable procedure to these people. But because we think they are gods, because we think they're exempt, we don't do that. We just keep on buying. Buy the emojis, buy the emojis, buy the emojis. And that is a form of worship. Where we don't apply the normal remedies because people are gods, that is literally worship. And that's something that J. Cole is saying. He's saying that we pay so much attention because if it was John next door, it would make the headlines, but it wouldn't be an ongoing thing. It wouldn't be, we wouldn't be as shocked as we were. But because we expect this person to sort of be our image of perfection, to sort of represent us on a higher level, I don't know, it's just, the whole thing is just bizarre, to be honest. But watch the interview, comment in the comment section your thoughts on celebrity worship, and do some self-searching. Okay, do some self-searching, pray about it, and let God lead you into what he would have you take away from the interview and the current culture. But what I'm saying is, fill that hole with God, not with celebrities, not with celebrity worship, not with products that they're putting out, not with the music that they're putting out. All these things that they put out are not meant to fill you. They're meant to get you back searching for more. Okay? So, to be honest, it is a form of idolatry. It's a form of idolatry. Take it back to the Bible again in, I think, the book of Exodus. When is it that Moses goes for the Israelites? In that book, I think it's Exodus, that he goes up to get the 10 Commandments, and then when he comes back, the Israelites are now worshipping a golden calf. That's what it is. That's idolatry. And today, present day idolatry is literally found in celebrity worship. You know, we raise up objects for ourselves to worship. We raise up human beings as golden calves to worship. When we put them in a box, and when they step out of the box, it's a shock, but it doesn't affect our actions. We still keep worshiping. Now back to this interview, I highly appreciate the fact that he has noticed this happening in society. He has noticed the fact that we tend to take talent and idolize talent and call it genius and, you know, bow down and da da da. And he is distancing himself, or beginning to, he says he's feeding it too, but he recognizes it, but he doesn't want to be a part of it. So he's saying to his fans, you know, I'm not one to partake in this. I don't want anything to do with this. I am not interested in this. This is not something that I want to partake in. And I like the fact that he's being vocal about it. I like the fact that he's recognized it. He has an idea of the origins of it, and he has a bit of the solution for it. He has said to his fans, never ever put me on a pedestal in that way. I'm not here for worship. I'm not here to be lifted up as an object. I am a musician just trying to execute my talent in an excellent way. And there's a big difference between that and what other celebrities allow to happen with their fans and fan clubs and all this kind of thing. So yeah, that's my little commentary on pop culture today. It's important today because everyone is being sucked into this world, and it just needs to stop. It needs to stop. And I'm just happy to see a rapper come forward and say, yo, I'm not buying into this, and I don't want you to buy in either. And that is what sort of inspired this little commentary on my channel. So leave your comments in the comment section. Check out the J. Cole interview. Read your Bible to help you identify what's going on here, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next medley.